Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's Doc from North America. It's another fun-filled day. It's Happy to Hump Day. It's Wednesday. Let's see what we got going on here. Pretty much, let's see. To me, it looks like what we're really seeing more than anything else is just sideways action. It's all we see constantly is sideways action. It doesn't seem to, really give us any major push on any level at all. Just seems to be the consistency of this trading range. I like to call it the quantitative easing trading range, because that's what it really comes down to. Is it seems very organized, very consistent. There's probably one product I don't know. We don't follow many other products that break out of this, but one thing is for sure, and that is the Turkish Lira is the only one that is more extreme than any of the others. They seem not to be stuck in a trading range. It just seems to be consistently depreciating. But after that, all the rest of the majors and so forth, if you can call them majors anymore, I'm not even sure if that is equated to that anymore because of quantitative easing. We've wondered about that. We see where the old majors, there were like 6 majors. It was or at least a good solid 5, and that was. There was the euro, and then there was the yen, and the Swiss franc, or I guess it would be the Canadian. I'm sorry, no, I guess it was the British pound after the yen, or before it bounced around in between two of them, and then it was the so you had the euro, yen, British pound, Canadian, and Swiss franc. And then the kroner was like number 6, and so but there were like the 5 majors, and now they seem to all be consistently in a trading pattern, and like an envelope or a channel, however you want to describe it, but that's what they are. They seem to be sitting in those things. So anyway, today we look again, as usual, as we look every day, and here it is. You can see this is the Swiss. Swiss is a good example of when this is going down, the dollar is losing value, and when it goes up, the dollar is gaining value. In this case here, you can see we're in daily buys right there. You can see over on J4X on our daily, same situation. Strength is coming in, and but it's actually physically down for the day. You can see that, and you can see we went into the buy yesterday, and it's obviously not winning, and it can't win. And why is that, traders? Because we're in a weekly sell. So we have 3 positions. We have a long, we have a short, and we have a neutral, where there's times where you'd be neutral. Now it depends if you're an institution of some form where you're trying to hedge your product, or you have to supply your product. Then obviously you can't be neutral. You can be delta neutral, but overall you still have to have a position on to be able to supply inventory to who you're trying to supply inventory to. So right now you can see here the weakness makes sense. We're in a weekly sell. The overall trend has started last week as a down, whereas it was a buy. You can see the natural tendency was to be higher than lower, and now we've gone into a sell, and now the tendency will be to be lower than higher. And you can see it right there on a daily basis, just like you see it here, and we take a peek at it on a weekly basis right there. You can see here it made a very sharp move down. You see that? It made a dive down. Lasted about 3 weeks back in July and August, and then started to show some life into it. We went into a daily buy here, you can see, and this is how you read our work. And then you can see it backed off. It wasn't able to get through the 0 line to get into a buy, and then it took a couple more weeks and went sideways to nowhere. And then we went into a weekly buy, and then we jumped back into I think we missed some sells here on a day-to-day. Like there's a sell right there. I don't see the lines there. I don't see the lines here for a sell. I don't see the lines here for a buy. That was the first buy right there. Had a very small win. And then the second one was obviously the bigger win. And then there's odd why that would even be a buy. It should be over here somewhere. And we don't even see the sells. Some of the sells have disappeared. I'm not sure why our lines are messed up on that, but they are. And there's another sell right there that went nowhere, and you expect it to go nowhere. Why, again, traders? Because we're in a weekly buy right there. Ooh, there we go, right there. Right there's a weekly buy. So overall, we're watching the markets this morning as usual, watching how they, I guess you could say, how they act inside their channels. That's really what it comes down to. And when we go out and look at this on a much broader scale, going back, over a year, you can see here, it was trapped in that channel, slipped down, which was interesting. It broke down below it, and then we'd gone back further. It was stuck in that channel, and you can see it plays with that channel. It hangs out in it. And we see the same thing with the euro, and we see the same thing with the Canadian. They all have their channels. And that must be some type of, how to describe it best? Some kind of official price level. I think that's a good way of describing it. The official price level. And what happens is that the U.S. Treasurer, in this case now Mrs. Yellen, who used to be the Fed chair, comes out every quarter and tells us who is manipulating and who is not. And so they obviously have something defined to be able to tell if they are or are not. You can't just say out of thin air you're manipulating when you may not be. So that is where we stand. All right, and that is the Swiss, and that's the way we're going to look at everything here. And anytime you have a question, just shout it out on the chat line, and we'll go back to it, look at it, see it, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's the Swiss in 30 minutes or the euro in 40 and so forth. We're willing to always go back and look at whatever we're looking at. And then we have a fact check spreadsheet here. So right there you can see the Swiss is 2 days in a daily buy and 1 week in a weekly sell, which coordinates to the chart here. Can you see that there? Let's do that again. Yeah, there it is. See how it's lit up there, and you can see it over here. There's your weekly sell, 1 week in a weekly sell. That's what the C column is. See right there, weekly sell, and then buy day and sell day. All right, let's check out euro. And the euro showing a little strength there. Let's widen that out so it's a little bit more visible. And we'll just check it out over here. Right there. You see it's down a little bit against the dollar today. That's odd because no, it's not. I guess it's still lifting up a little bit here. I guess it's still loading. It's the load. And you can see here it is higher. It's a higher candle on the day chart. You can see our daily quant is showing the pressure here. Our weekly quant has been in a sell since up in this area here. So that's the close of the week. We put the signal at the end of the week to confirm or show that it's in a weekly sell, and it could have fallen in there here or there or here, or we don't know. We can go back and look and see what the math says. But overall, it's in the sell since back in this region here, and you can see its trend has been more lows than highs. Now we had perked up their shorter term daily right there. You see it turned up, and you can see here on the weekly, it's trying to turn up on a J4X at the moment. But in our work, not yet. And due to the fact that this is a public indicator that we developed for the J4X, it is ahead of all what the Market Technicians Association refer to as leading indicators. So this is like a super indicator right here, but it's public. So you can reproduce them on all your machines. If you're using J4X or anything else, you can use this concept, and it's a fast-moving stochastic versus a slow-moving stochastic. And then at the same time, we do hinky, ashy bars to match up with our dots. And these things are all just lagged behind from our work, solely because our math is just much more advanced and proprietary. So there we go there on the weekly. Now let's see what it looks like and how it matches up on the daily. You see the same thing. It's fallen into the sell, just like here. You can see the white line has pierced the dashed line, just like here. And what we do is we have a zero line. We like to call the dashed line the three-dimensional zero line. And that's how all this works. And what we do every day is we go and we look at about a dozen. I guess it's a dozen. Let's see. We look at the Swiss. We start off with the Swiss. We go to the euro. We go to the cable. We look at two different Turkish Lira charts. One is the dollar Turkish Lira. The other one's the euro Turkish Lira. That's 5 right there alone. Then we go and look at the Canadian. That's 6. Then we take a look at the metals complex and the energy complex, just for a quick look. Drift back to the currencies. We go and look at the South African rand. We look at the Russian ruble. We watch the Japanese yen, and then we take a look at the Mexican peso. And from there, that is a good 10 pairs trades we check out. And then if anybody out there watching cares to see anything that we do not look at, we go and look at that, because we find it always fascinating to look at anything, as far as we're concerned, using our mathematics. And you never know where a good idea is going to come from. So, you shout it out, we'll take a look at it and see if there's an opportunity. And then from there we go back and look at the energy sector and the metals complex. And we look at the gold and the silver and the platinum and the copper, and then we look at heating oil and natural gas and crude oil. And then we drift over to the stock indices, and that is our magical mystery tour here. And can be interrupted at any time by just someone on the chat line saying, hey, I want to see this. And we go there. All right, from there, we'll jump over to the cable. There's the cable. Let's widen that out, too, at the same time, looking at our Chicago quant. Right there. You see, we've been in a weekly buy 1 full week, going on a 2nd week. The daily seems to have rolled over totally. On Monday, it went into the sell. After being in this nice long buy, we thought, ooh, we're going to get something. And we like this usually. We like the idea of it getting into a weekly buy and then going into a sell, and then when the daily buy kicks out, usually we get a nice little jump there on the upside. 8.5 out of 10 times our math picks up the right direction with the two of these combined together. And you can see here just sideways and down. And some have asked about the Fibonacci sequence, which is a lagging indicator to our math, but we put it up there just because it's so fascinating, and it's a good tool. And so we have the Fibonacci happen. Someone comes into the webinar here every so often asking about the Fibonacci on the British pound. Let's see. There's the weekly there. Let's see what it looks like over on. Let's first look at the daily. There it is, right there. There's the cable on a daily basis with J4X. You see it's been breaking down, just like we are here. And today, I think, let's see where we're at today. We got a red dot, and we are just still minus, so just below that 0 line. Now let's take a look at it on a week-to basis, basis, right there. And it's just pushing along. It's trying. It's got 3 greens on a week-to-week, and that's pretty cool. We are in that week-to-week buy from here, and I guess that was the confirm there. This did not make it into the buy. The white line did not. On that scale it does. And we got to be careful with the scaling to this. It's very much a challenge to keep it balanced. And you can see here it's moved up. And for you traders out there to try to emulate this, work on straightening out the scale on the slow-moving stochastic versus the fast-moving stochastic. All right, from there we drift over to the Turkish Lira, and there is the dollar Turkish Lira to start off with. Right there. And we've been in a buy in that. You can see all the way back. Was that at the middle of August? No, September. Middle of September, we've been in a buy. You see, it's found a way to go up in value more than to go down in value. And you can see on a day-to-day basis, went into the sell there yesterday. It's just a little bit weaker today. And let's see, let's put her up there like so on the day. You'll see the same thing over on J4X. The only thing you'll see with J4X is it's a little behind, obviously, my math, but ahead of any other public indicator as far as I'm concerned. So this is a good tool. You want a free tool? This is a good tool right here. We're on the J4X. And see, what else can we say about this? Not much really. Just that it's a fascinating event to watch. You know, it's a major I guess you could call it an industrial country, and it's the second largest NATO country, and their currency has been devalued X amount of fold at this point. It went from 1.5, and now we're seeing it trading in the 9s. So that's a pretty wild ride. This must be we always say this is some type of economic policy by Prime Minister / President Aragon, who was the Prime Minister, is now the President, and he has been working at keeping this currency devalued, probably to bring in, capital. That's the only way I can figure it. Let's take a look at the euro against the Turkish lira. Right there. And you see it too, same action, same pressure. We'll check it out over here with our indice. Right there. And you can see, same situation moving down, just like it's moving down here. Now, what's one of the fun things about this is that when it gets down very, very low and it makes its moves, it's always interesting. It's usually a good spot of a bottom on the J4X chart. Whereas our work follows a zero line, and so when it goes down deep until it comes up through the zero line, it's usually indicative of weakness until strength, instantly, boom, at the zero line. And you can see there on the Euro Turkish Lira, it's just been cruising along on the weekly down below on our chart here, doing that same thing, where it's, went into the weekly buy back in September, and, it's found ways to go higher, not lower. Let's see what it looks like right there. And you can see right there, same situation, just roaring up, just like it does with our work. What a quiet morning, huh? Nobody in the house really having any queries. Maybe the crowd will roll in. It's kind of it's a trading pit. You never know. People just roll in and roll out. All right, now let's take a look at the Canadian. We always jump to the Canadian from the Turkish lira, which is odd because over the years, we've been doing this for a bunch of years now, and over the years we noticed there seems to be a similarity to a certain extent. It has broken away, of course, thank goodness. The Canadian ran up to the 140s, and now the Canadian is in the 120s. So that's a good thing. In other words, their currency has gotten more valuable, not less valuable, compared to the Turkish lira over the same time period, who's lost more and more value. This is the weekly of the Canadian. You can see it's been going down. It's in the low 120s. The range seems to be 120 to 1. I forget what the top number is. We'll have to take a look at it here as we go to it, right there. Okay, yeah. So the range is like the 129 area, almost 130, and the low end of the range is the let's see, let's shrink that up. And the low end of the range is the 120s. Over the last year or so, and you can see back here, it broke through it. It had come up, broke through it, and came back down, challenged it, and then you can see at times it just bangs up against it. But it's a very broad range. You can see they give a lot of latitude. So the U.S. Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury obviously are not that aggressive about it staying in its range. It's just that they do put out a quarterly report about where the range should be, in a sense. Or let's put it this way, they don't tell you the numbers, they tell you when it's out of whack. In other words, they go, okay, it's being manipulated. They refer to it as manipulated. So, and I guess that must be a pressure point. We've analyzed this a lot over the last half a decade, and it obviously, when they declare a currency manipulated, that means that the country of that currency obviously is doing something that the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury don't agree with. In other words, they're putting more inventory out there, or they're buying too much inventory out there. They're manipulating it on some level. Hey, Middle Age, how you doing? Could you check the daily quant in silver? Sure, see what's going on there. Let's see. Go to there. There we are. There's Bitcoin. Been a daily sell on that for 3 days now. It's felt the pressure. And there is Silverado. Silver's been a daily sell for 2 days. You can see it on the fact check spreadsheet. Right there. This is going on a second day. Yesterday was the first, this is the second. And it's only 1 week in a weekly buy, and it seems to be holding up on the weekly buy pretty well. Can't complain about that. After 24 weeks in a sell, we finally got into a weekly buy. So, and we've had all those crazy head and shoulders, reverse head and shoulders. And so, I don't think you have to worry too much about the silver. It has come down, what is that? That's down into the 24s. Plays with the 24 number. Let's see if they give it a good little bounce one more time. This does, we talked about it yesterday, this does look like the William O'Neill Cup, and they may be building the, what do you call it, the handle to the cup right here. And so this is the cup, and this is going to be the handle. It'll probably cruise around this area here. And then let's see, it gets, if we're in a weekly buy and it gets into a daily buy, boom, off to the races again, that type of thing. How's that, Middle Age? Are you okay? All right. Let's see. Let's get back to the Canadian. And you can see the Canadian is trying to lift up. It's 3 days in a buy, is it? Let's see what the fact check says. That's line 20. Right there. Yeah, 3 days in daily buy, so this is the 4th day, but it's 3 weeks in a sell. So this is just kind of noise in the background taking profits. Yeah, it's got that William O'Neill, and you know who was it Jordan that was on here yesterday and the last couple of weeks? Jordan's been talking about those X's, ABC, W's, which reminds me of it's basically the Robert Prechter stuff. That Robert Prechter was the one that kind of reinvigorated the Elliott wave concept back in the late 1970s, going into the early 80s. He was, had taken R.N. Elliott's work and reintroduced it to the financial community. It had disappeared for about 40 years, and maybe 30 years or so, 30, 40 years. R.N. Elliott was the Elliott wave theory was an accountant or a financial officer for a banana company that imported bananas from South America. He was the financial side of it and got ill and laid in bed watching the patterns for a bunch of years. And he developed what I refer to as a topological mathematical look at the charts. So he was doing some type of set theory. If A is greater than B, but not lower than a percentage of A, then it's going to bounce up in a main trend, and they refer to it as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and minor trends or correction patterns were the ABCs, and he kind of did that for a long time, and then partnered up with W.D. Gann. Everybody knows the name W.D. Gann. And W.D. Gann and him, and would you believe W.D. Gann was younger than R.N. Elliott? And so them, and then Jones, the very first hedge fund, and they had their offices in Midtown in New York City, hidden away from Wall Street. And the three of them worked together for X period of time. You know, I mean, a long time. And they had their offices right next to each other at like 47th Street or something like that in Madison. And so the first hedge fund and the most successful hedge fund, and two of the world-renowned market technicians combined together. And so, we've been seeing that pattern. Then William O'Neill has been a very productive market technician. He started the Investor's Business Daily about 4 decades ago, something like that. And he has some patterns that he has recognized over the years, and he does a percentage thing. And I don't even know if William O'Neill's alive anymore, because he was a pretty older gentleman as it was when he started it. He might have been my age now when he started the Investor's Business Daily. And so you can see here, this has that cup and saucer look that he used to talk about all the time. It's a pattern that he used to look for. All right, how's that? All good? And what we'll do now is we will drift back to the Canadian. And as you can see there, the Canadian is, as we said, is doing its thing. And what is that? There's the weekly. Let's see what the daily. Look at that bounce. It's really getting aggressive on the J4X on the weekly. And then you can see here we're still way down. Our time manifolds are right there. So it's still buried. There's the zero line. So it's got to do a lot more work to get into that buy since we went into the weekly sell up in here. And let's just take a look at it on a daily basis. Right there. You can see it's marching its way up just like our Chicago Quant is. And that's the name of the game. All right, from there what we do is this is what we do. We interpret the Canadian as a very strong gold, silver / oil country because of the amount of population and the location and their level of production. They produce 3+ million barrels a day. They produce, I think they're number 2 in the world in silver, maybe number 2 in gold. They're very productive in those sectors. So we figure that their currency, there's the currency trade that people watch, and that's called the loonie, which is New Zealand. They're both Commonwealth countries, and they watch the New Zealand against the Canadian, trying to subtract out what New Zealand doesn't have and Canada does have. In this case here, when we see the Canadian moving up, we assume that oil might be going down in value, and we assume that the metals complex is going down in value. That's one of those type of things of a tip-off that we kind of look at. So what do? We go in and we check them out. So right here is, where's it at? It's around here somewhere. Where's the gold? There's the gold right there. And that's why we say we slide into it just really quick, and then we'll come back to it. And you can see here, gold does have a downwardly pressure, and we look at it here. You can see silver is pushing down, and so Mr. and Mrs. Gold, right there, same situation. That's staying in a buy still, but it's trying to climb back into the weekly here. And you can see that the daily has been more predominant than, went into a daily buy here while it was in a weekly sell there. So you couldn't be short, and all it did is drive up. So it was a neutral situation. Goes into a sell here to join in with this, and it barely makes any money. And then we go back into a daily buy here, and you lose a few do-re-mi's here. Finally, it's at 1.5 out of the 10. And then now we are flirting with a weekly buy, and it's going nowhere. So it's been trapped, and all the action has been over in silver. All right. From there, we jump back over to crude oil real quick, and you can see the weakness in crude oil for the last couple of days. And let's see, where's it on? Fact check. I think is it finally gone into the sell? Let's just take a look at that. I think it's been in the buy for 4 or 5 days. Yeah, 5 days. And today is pushing into the sell. You see that with the pressure down. Looks like we are going to be definitely 100% in a sell. Let's put that line in there. if it stays like this by the end of the day, we will be in the sell. The only problem is that we're in a weekly buy since like 60 something, I think. And 68, 69. So it's been in a weekly buy, finding ways to go higher, and every time it goes into a sell, you steer clear of them and you just do the buys. In this case here, that was a loser. That was the winner that made back easily what it gave up. That one made even more than that one loser. And then it finally went into a sell here and went right back into a buy, another winner. And then another winner, which was sloppy, but still a winner. And now we are flirting. It tried to go there, but it couldn't because we had a red and a green. It did, looks like it did go into the sell last night, right there. So I guess in many ways, this red line should be down here, and this should be the second day. And I think we will do that, since that's what the chart is telling us. Don't ask me how we put it on. We do this manually, so sometimes we miss spots, sometimes like that. And let's just go like, not a cap. And let's go with a tab and a 1, like that. So it's in a sell, really. But we missed putting it up on the chart there, and for some reason, we didn't spot it there with this line there. And you can see, let's just see where it's at. See, it's a -3 right there. See that plot 1, -3. So I might as well just move that over one like that. Let's save that too. Let's save this. There we are. All right, that's the way we look at the oil and metal situation, and then what we do is we drift back over to the 4 or 5 other currencies that we look at. Let's see right there. Now here is the South African Rand. We assume when gold is going down in value, we assume the South African Rand is going up in value. Right there. Same thing with right here. And there is the daily, and it's rising. And we've been talking about that. We really feel nervous about the metals complex because of that. I know that silver has gone into buy after 23 weeks. We were hoping that it, we would get up to the 24.5 to 25 area. It did that, which was a nice move from the 22.5 area where it slid into the weekly buy. So it's been a very short-lived adventure and a profitable one. But I'm not happy the fact that the South African Rand keeps on finding ways to go higher, not lower. So that makes me, even with it being the end of the fiscal year, it makes me concerned. And you can see here the weekly is trying to go back into the sell here, but it's not doing too good a job. You can see that. Went into the buy this week here. It has gone lower than it has higher, and now we're almost back to where we are from where it went into the weekly buy. So this thing is having its issues. Now the daily protected you on the sell-off right there. I told you that it wanted to break, and it did. But that's still not comforting for the metals complex, and that's a disappointment as far as I'm concerned. And then you can see right here, there's the weekly doing the same thing. It's bouncing off of the dashed line. It's having really a problem trying to coordinate into that. All right, now let's see, where do we go? Oh, we didn't mean to do that, but get it back there. There we are. And so now what we do is we go over to the ruble. See how the ruble's looking this morning. Rub right there. It's been in a weekly sell for a while. You can see it back in here in the 74s. We've slid into the 69s, and we're back over 70. You can see it's trying to make a mad dash up, really out of nowhere. Wow, look at that. And let's see what it looks like on a daily here. Same thing, I'm sure. I wonder how, did it get super low? No, it's kind of low. there, the white line, and then we put it back to the natural scale. We usually use about a 6-7 day for the scale. 8 day, something like that. You can see it's trying to climb up, just like we're trying to climb up right here. Alright, and that is the flavor of the ruble. Let's see what the weekly looks like on that too. You can see how far our work is buried down in here. Same thing here, it's buried way down. Look at how far the white line is. Just like that last low, but it's a higher low, which is interesting. Very interesting. Alright, from there we jump over to the yen. Let's see how the yen is looking this morning. And there is the yen. You can see it's showing some weakness in here. It is, what, 2 days in a buy? I guess 1 day in a buy when it comes to the yen. Where's that? 19, is it? Yeah, 19. So 1 day in a buy, 6 weeks in a buy. You can see it's been moving up more than moving down. You'll find 8.5 out of 10 charts that we look at statistically will be following our math very, very well. Just like the daily situation of it, 8.5 out of 10 when you combine the weekly together. So that's the action we're seeing in yen. Now it's losing, obviously that's losing value against the dollar. That means a stronger dollar. Let's put it up over here. And you can see same situation where the weekly is predominant. You'll see it on J4X in a few seconds when it fills in overall. There you go. And when we go and look at it on a day-to-day basis, you know, it's doing the same thing. It's finding ways to go more up than down when you go back and look at it like that. There we are. That's the daily. And it gets into these cells. You know, nothing ever goes in a straight line, traders. They all like to come back and forth. There's always, you know, profit taking, or, you know, just more sellers than buyers, or, you know, something out there, but nothing usually works in a straight line. That's why, you know, it's very odd. You know, I think I'll digress after Mexican peso, but the headline in, well, let me just show you. It's in the back of my head, so we'll do that, and then we'll come back to, I think what we'll do is we'll put it up here, the Mexican peso. That's our last currency that we look at. And what's in the back of my mind is the cryptos, the Bitcoin, you know. And that is that the product, you know, they call it in like Zero Hedge or something like that. This morning's a headline: cryptos crash. Well, they just have wide ranges. That's all they do. You know, I don't think of it as a crash. You know, this thing can, you know, it's just like gasoline. I mean, not gasoline, crude oil. I mean, it doesn't match the beta to other products compared to crude. Crude can go up or down. You know, we've seen crude go minus. We've seen crude at zero. We've seen, you know, a barrel of oil being paid to take it. And at the same time, we've seen it roar back up 10 or 15 bucks and move up like, you know, 100% in a trading day. That's not that odd for a product like that. And the same thing with crypto. Something that is so well distributed across the planet and is very powerful in its participation by everybody. It's like the third. Bonds are the #1 product on the planet. Currencies are #2, and crude oil is #3. And so they have some really strange, different betas. You should see the way bonds move. When they move, they almost move like the speed of light. I mean, when they change direction, there is, I mean, it's just like, you know, you'll lose an arm and a leg from them. I mean, bang, it happens. So, you know, when they say something like the cryptos are crashing just because they were at 66,000 and now they're at 59, that's not a crash for that product. That is just the type of beta that it is. And that's where my head was at about that thought. And I know a lot of you is probably saying, what's he mean by beta? And that's a volatility thing relative to other stocks or equities. And you can see here, it seems like the Mexican peso, since it went into this weekly buy here, and look at it, it vacillated a long time with our math. Look at that. I mean, we went buy 1 week, sell 1 week, buy 1 week, 2 weeks in the buy. You can see a little strength in there. Sell 1 week, buy again, sort of strength from it. 2 weeks in a buy, and then a sell again, and then 2 weeks in a sell, then a buy again, then 1 week a sell, then 1 week a buy, and then finally we were fascinated by the fact that it was 2 weeks, and we put these ovals in where there had been an extension of time, and you can see that it's 4 weeks now on a buy, on a fifth, even with all this selling that's been going on, and how our math caught basically the top end of the range. It's still holding up in that weekly buy. It makes you really, pay attention, Whereas, you can say over on J4X, of course, it's a little bit slower because it's a public indicator and everybody uses it. You can see here that the weekly, it was a couple weeks of the red, but still, look at that. 4 weeks of greens on the Hinky on a weekly basis. Pretty fascinating there. All right, and now this is what I was thinking about. Let's go over to it, and here it is right. There's the Bitcoin on J4X. It's in here somewhere. There it is. Let's make that the daily. We'll dissect the daily. And then what we'll do is we'll go over here, and let's put it there. No, that's the bonds. Yeah, look at the bonds, the way they're ripping. And there's the crypto. It's been in a daily sell since here. Went into a daily buy from here. It was one heck of a ride. And we were in a weekly buy with it. So it was a nice unison move from the 45,000 all the way up to the 66,000 or 67,000. What was that? 67,665 or 55. Either way, it's 67,000. And now we're playing in the 59s and 60 or something like that. No major shakes. We're still in a weekly buy. Let's see. Let's put this up right here. There you go. You can see same thing on J4X. It broke down. And let's check it out on the weekly. Right there. And the weekly's been holding up pretty well. It overall. Oh, Santiago. Hey, good evening to you. We are having a wonderfully slow, steady day. Let's see. Middle Age was in the hood here for a while, looking at the silver. Is there anything in particular you'd like to see? We'll gladly divert to it. And we're pretty much done what we normally do. Matter of fact, I'm actually dissecting the beta, the high beta of the cryptos, which I'm a big fan of. As long as there's quantitative easing, the Nifty 50. Okay, let's see if we can find the Nifty 50. Let's see. I think that's the Nifty 50 right there. And let's see if we can find it on our work. I think there's an ETF here in the States that we could look at. Let me find the symbol for it. I know I've had some people talk about it with me. Let's see. Nifty 50 ETF. Let's see, investing in ETFs, finest best, Nifty 50. There it is. The iShares Nifty 50s, INDY. Let's go find it. There's the Brazilian Real right there, the EWZ. Let's put it in right there to the oil one. Format. You know what? Let's do this. Just in case you ask for it more often, let's make a copy of this and create its own page for it, or chart. Let's put it that way. Paste. There we are. And we'll get rid of that. move drawing, and let's put the index itself in. And that is N, where did I just saw it? I just saw it. Oh, INDY, that's right. INDY. I'm almost dead sure we've looked at this before. Let's try it this way. There we are. Okay. Yeah, there we are. There we are. And let's fix that. We're still in a buy in it. That's interesting. So we go like this. I always like when we do that. So we went into the buy there. It's been in a buy. Where'd it go into the buy? Boy, it's been in a buy for a while, hasn't it? All the way back to here. Let's see, let's move this over. So that can sit there like that. This can sit there like that. Let's scrunch this up. And you can see it went into the buy back in July. And it went into the buy in the 46-ish area. And where are we at now? The 53 area. So that's pretty cool. Let's see how these dailies set up. So we'll move this over here like that. There's your first, not your first buy, the last buy. So that whole move has been in a daily buy. Oh no, here you go. There's a daily sell right there. So it goes like that, a sell. And then we take this one and move it back. No, what's that? Let's move that over. And move that into that position again. And it goes back into a daily buy right there for that move. So that's pretty cool. Now, let's move this back to the sell right there. Can't take it, of course, because you're in a weekly buy. Let's move this buy right to there. And that sells right. Let's see, and then we go from there's a buy. Move that sell over to here. That buy was a buy all the way back to there. Move these guys out of the way. And that one. So that's, we're going to fill this all in since the beginning of the buy. So right there we can leave that buy there, take that sell, move it over to here. We'll erase those in the end. Move that over to there. There's your sell. There's your buy. And is that a sell right there? That's a sell. And take that buy. And here's your other cell right there. And that's it. Let's just erase that. Remove, remove, remove. And I think that's it. And if we widen that out so you can appreciate it more, move that over one more time like so, and widen it out again. Move that over there. There you go. How's that? And let's write it in there too, what this is. And that is the INDY. INDY. Here we are. So there it is right there. Save workspace. Save workspace as. There we go. How's that? And there it is. Interesting, it's been in a buy from down in here. It's caught that nice ride, hasn't it? And the daily buys have been alright. You got long there, you made a little money. You bought there, you made a lot of money. You bought there, you made decent money. You bought, this one, you made okay money. You bought here, yeah, just about broke even. You bought here, you made a couple, what do they call it, rubies. And you bought here, and you made a lot of rubies. So it's been pretty good. No problem. It's always fun to do this, to look at a product we don't look at, and then we actually show it to everybody, live. And let me just show you the for those that like to watch the Brazilian Real. This is an ETF of the Brazilian Real. It's been in a weekly sell since like July, also in like the same time period as the reverse of the other, and it's been going down in value. It's been going down. It went from the 40s to the 30s, so it was like a 25% drop. Let's do a save there, and save workspace as, and let's close it. There we go. So there we go. That's always fun. And traders, if anybody has anything out there they would like to look at, we can go do it. We got about another 6 minutes or so. So, what's your favorite book, Doc? Holiday and Resnick, Physics 1 and 2 combined together. I think that's maybe my favorite. What kind of name a genre? Fantasy, philosophy, market technical analysis. Name a genre, and I'll tell you what my favorite book is. There was a great book called Lopsim Rampa out of England, written by a plumber who wrote a bunch of books about a Tibetan monk. That was very excellent. I always enjoyed that. Read all their books. Philosophy. Descartes, maybe? Descartes was a 16th, 17th century philosopher, physics person. There's a lot of interesting philosophy out there, but Descartes always catches my eye. He was a French philosopher / physicist. Let me think. I love the Lopsim Rampa, the Tibetan one. It had some real texture to it when it came to philosophy and ideas. It mixed with the Hindu and the Buddha and the Christianity all combined together. Rene Descartes, exactly. Was it, what's the singer now? What's her name? Billie Eilish? She wrote a song called I Think For I Am, or something like that, taking Descartes' most famous quote. Cartesian system, yeah. So yeah, that's a good question, Santiago. Good question. I could go on and on. There's no doubt about that. Doc has many interesting. I love B.F. Skinner. I love what's his name, Pavlov. On the philosophies. I super enjoy Velikovsky's concepts. You're welcome. All right. Let's go take a look at the energy complex. And that was something I was saying there. So we saw crude weakening there. We saw silver for middle age. You've seen the weakening there, but they're both trying to hold into the weeklies. Tunnel through the air. In many ways, what am I, like a sprite of some form? I'm in thin air too. I'm on the World Wide Web. Communicating across the planet. Oh yes, here's natural gas. Check out natural gas, just showing more strength again. They tried. I didn't want to do that. Where is it at? What did I do? I just screwed something up. I just grabbed something. Didn't mean to grab that. There we are. Here's natural gas. The energy sector. WD GAN, yeah. We should talk about it maybe tomorrow. What's that? Tunnel through the air or WD GAN? We can talk about GAN. GAN is definitely, you know, I was talking about GAN and RN Elliott earlier in the webinar about the fact that them and Jones, the three of them, teamed up together. Yeah, definitely. We can have a good discussion on that. When I was in Chicago, when I was young, in the 1980s, there was recordings of WD GAN talking, and people would sell them for like $800 or $900 a recording. There were recordings of a recording, but still, it was just so hard to get a hold of. And Robin, I think Robin had the template. He had the old WD GAN plastic template you would lay over a paper chart. That was really cool stuff, you know? Yeah. They're out there. There's recordings of WD GAN talking. There are. There's, people have... He made records talking. The original was a record. Yeah. We'll see if we can find a hold of... You know, we can get into the conversation deeper on it. That's no problem there. No worries there, trader. No worries at all. I know. I have. Matter of fact, I actually have... I think I turned the webcam on. I have copies of R.N. Elliott's works photographed, you know, from a copying machine of some of his original works. Yeah. Because R.N. Elliott's work is really a small book. His concept is very topological. He should have been considered a topological mathematician with his concept. Greater thans, less thans, percentage, Fibonacci. You know, he's looking at the Fibonacci sequence to the set theory of it, like choosing neighborhoods and sets. You know, he was doing a lot of interesting stuff there. All right, traders, I guess we're going to get out of here, and I also got to figure out what is the title of this webinar this morning. I have to do that one too. So, this is Doc from North America. We will sing our way out like we always do, and that is Happy Trails to you until we meet again, which will be Thursday, the day before Friday. Happy trails to you, to all our trading friends around the world. I am your sunshine. I am your sunshine when it is cloudy and skies are gray. Ta-ta, traders. Thank you, Santiago.